Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 42 of the YouTube channel dedicated to the development and construction of the Lake Erie and North Shore Railroad. We're going to have a two-part series now about replacing some old control panels that I made earlier on in the series with some new ones because we needed the space in the room. So I think all of you that are sort of trying to manage the space issues with your layout will understand sometimes you just need more space. So we decided to upgrade the control panels. It's a really good two-part series. In the first part, we show you how to measure out, cut, and drill the plexiglass. We build the frame that the control panel is going to go in. We show you how to sort of model out how you want your panel to look. And then in the second series, we continue on where we do the wiring and complete the project. Okay, so hopefully you stay with us, and I'm glad that you're at episode 42, still watching the channel. So tell your friends, hit the old subscribe button, hit the bell so that you get all of the notifications when this comes out, and make sure you like us. Okay, let's get rolling. Before we do, we need some railroad soul.
From the mountains across the prairies to the sea, they laid the iron for the rails that we ride. They shared their lives, their hearts, and their pride. They had really soul. They had really soul. They had really soul.
Well, it's come to the point where I need this space. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take these two old control panels that we built earlier on, and I'm going to take this table out, and I'm going to build a control panel similar to one of these and put it right here. So I'm hoping I'm going to save all this space that these are taking up. I'm also going to replace this. This is the power supply that I was using for my lights around the layout, but I'm going to change that for just a standard 12-volt power supply, and I'm going to put one of those switches on it where you can turn it up and down. And so we're going to do all that in this episode. So stay tuned. Now, what I'll have to do, thankfully what I did when I actually made these original control panels is I thought that I might have to change things at some point. So I've put in these handy dandy connectors that I'm hoping I'm just going to have to unscrew, unhook this, and then reapply these into a panel. Hopefully I'll be able to do that. And then over here you can see wires coming in. I'm going to take these current meters out because I don't really use them that much, so I'll just take those out. So all I need to take out of here are these. These switches down here are just dead. I just put them in there for show. So let's see if we can manufacture us a new control panel, one of the more modern ones, and one that has a lot less space necessary. and then I'll be able to have this as a nice walkway through without having to bump up against it all the time. All right, let's see what we can do. Stay tuned. Okay, so this is a piece of the blue fronting material that I'm going to use for the new control panel. What I might do is just cut a piece across here, okay, and then use that as the size of the control panel, and see how that works out. So I'm gonna just take some rough measurements and get some I don't know, I might get some paper cutouts or use a pencil or something to draw on this, because it does have a little bit of a, see this plastic sheet, so when you actually take it off, when you actually use it, you take this off. So if I draw on this, it probably won't go onto the glass, onto the plexiglass. So I'm going to get that all measured up, and I'll come back and we'll see how we stand at that point. Okay, so we got this piece cut. I've decided to go with the same size as I did with the other ones. So I've cut this off. Now there's this plastic protective coating, and it's on both sides of the sheet. So I'm just gonna rip this one off just to show you how to do it. And when you rip it off, I just rip a little bit from each side and then come into the center. And when you rip that off, you see this beautiful, perfect glass comes off. It's beautiful. Now I leave the other side on because this is the side that I'm going to be drilling. Okay, so I want to keep this plastic on while I drill, and then I mean, technically I should have maybe kept it on both sides till I drill, but it didn't seem to be too bad last time I did this. So I take the one side off, keep the side on that I'm going to drill on. In fact, I might drill from this side to keep this back on, just so it doesn't chip away the glass on the other side, but it's not that important because you don't see that anyway. Okay, so I just wanted to update you with how we've cut it. This is 30 centimeters, and then I just took a file, came down the top where I made the cut, just to take off any of those sharp edges, because you don't want to get cut when you're doing this. Okay, so now I'm going to basically draw I'm going to get a piece of paper the same size of this. I'm going to draw on some where I want things, and then I'll mark it through, because you can see the paper through the glass. Okay, it sounds complicated, but I'll show you it's not. It's pretty simple. So I'll come back once I have the paper done, and we'll show you how we do it. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over how I get the idea of how I want to lay my board out. So the first thing is I've taken a piece of paper that's the same width as the board, and don't worry about this, this is just a little piece that was ripped off. But now what I'm going to do is take into account, number one, when I put this on the wood, the glass is going to lay up against the wood, so I have to take that into account. So all I've done now, so I've just taken a ruler, and I'm just going to mark very roughly where my wood is going to sit, so that I don't encroach upon that with laying out my board, because that is always not good when you start drilling holes and getting stuff aligned, and then you realize, uh-oh, it's sitting right where the wood has to sit. And then you have to go back and start correcting stuff. And that is not much fun sometimes. So there we go. There's our base. Now the wood may not be that thick, but that's okay. Take out a little bit more. Better be safe than sorry. Now I've got one of these, which I've set for the diameter that I want my turntable lines to come off. But then what I realized was this top is exactly the same radius. So I thought, maybe it's easier just to use that. So I put this aside and put this in place. Now I want to have the curve far enough out so that I can fit my turntable control up inside a little bit. So I want the turntable control is 11. So I just want to move this over a bit. And I also want to have at least 5 millimeters from the top so that I can have my line coming off, which I'm going to have 5 millimeters long. So I'm just going to drop that a little bit more. I think that will do it. I'm going to go a little bit more this way just to be safe. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line. Now this is mimicking my turntable, and I'm going to stop before I get too far along. And then I'm going to go out, I'm going to make a mark. I'm going to go out 5. I'm just going out parallel to the line. And so what you'll see is you get an idea for that external radius. And then from here, this very first one, also going to draw another 5 millimeter line to there. And a space, another 5 millimeter line. Now, why I did that is because now I'm going to come out here. I'm just going to change this so that we get the same radius curves. And I'm actually going to bring this next line out 6, just to go a little bit past. And I know I need 3. In each of these first 2 groupings. And then 2 in the next grouping. And then I just need 1 on its own over there. Okay, now you can move this one over just a little bit. Looks more centered. This one a little bit so it looks more centered. And I'm going to put my holes for drilling right there. These are for drilling the switches. Now I'm going to measure in my box to control, which is 11. I think about right there. Looks good. And this is a 11 by 11. And remember, this just has to be a rough diagram just to get an idea of what it looks like. Okay, now I have another one. I'll put right about here. And this one is 12 by 7. Now, I know you guys out there that are draftsmen are rolling over telling me how crazy I am to do it like this, but it's just to give you an idea how things are going to look. Now I have another one that is 14. So I'm going to just move that over slightly. 14. That one's 14 by 8. I've kind of got those almost lined up. Then I want to put, see if I come halfway through there. I want to put a switch for the lights and a rheostat for the lights. Now the rest of the stuff over here is all extra that I can add extra stuff in the future. And then I'm going to put tags probably on the top indicating what each of these are. Maybe on the bottom, because here it will fit better on the bottom. Okay, so there you get an idea of how I've sort of roughly laid out how we want to have this board look. So now I'm going to go remeasure everything again, make sure that I've got all the measurements right and I haven't made any mistakes on the sizes. And then we will start drilling these holes. Now remember also, there's switches here, and then there's also some lights here. Okay? All right. Back soon. Okay, so we're continuing with the refurbishment or the replacement of our old control panels. So what I've done is I've taken just a piece of wood like this that I had laying around, and I cut it to the right length to match the length of the glass. And I've taken the same board, basically cut 2 angled pieces, which are going to fit in here. Like that. Now what I also did was I beveled, very slightly beveled this with a skill saw, just so that it would match. Let me go to this side. So it would match the angle. Okay. Then I have cut this piece, which is going to go in between these. Can't do it because I only have one hand. It's going to fall over, I'm sure, like that. Okay, so I'm going to put this together and I'll be back and we'll see if it works. Okay, so I've got this mount put together now. All I did was use these little sort of corner brackets here and here. And then here I just put in some screws straight through. I use some white glue on the joints. Okay, now this is angled a lot more than the other ones just because I think I'm going to be standing and I want to be able to see that turntable control very clearly. Okay, so this is the mount, and then we're going to take you back now to drawing on the final copy. So this is the glass. I'm just going to sit in place. So it just kind of sits in like that. I will position this better. Okay, now I'm just going to take the final copy here of the cuts. I'll just reposition everything and be right back. Okay, so we're back now to just preparing to cut the glass, making sure that everything's in the right spot. Now, this is the rough draft that we did, just to make sure that it looked okay. All right, now I've got all the actual sizes on there that we need. And I think I've decided here we're going to put the lights on the bottom just as the switch plate changes. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to put that out over there so I can see it, but now we're going to work on this new sheet. What I've done this time, just to get a bit more accuracy, is I've taped the top and the bottom down so that it's not going to move on us. And now we're going to just take our handy dandy top here. And we're going to position it just like we did before. Now if I take this old sheet right there, so we're going to just position that about right there, roughly. Now I am going to check just to make sure that we get the clearance here of 11. That way a little more. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to draw our half circle. We'll stop about there. I'm going to measure out about 5. I'm going to take our same radius. Let's kind of screw that up a bit. So we're not going to use that one. Just for simplicity, I'm drawing these in threes. We just want one separate one out here. And I'm going to put walls here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Remember, I'm going to be drilling those. And you won't see all of this. That's just a guide for me. Now the other one I want to put in is, I'm just using this to make sure that it's straight this time. That's got to be 3 inches by 3 inches. This is the actual hole size. So that's from 14. I just got to get this straight here. It's from 14 to 72. Now over here, we're going to put a 3. So I just want to get this located. Say about there. 3. And then down here we need a 1 centimeter. I don't want to do that. I'll get that about in the center right there. Okay. Now this one doesn't have to be too exact because it's just for wires to come through. Now I'm also thinking I want to put the lights. I think what I'll do is I'll put the lights down here. And I think I will move this one over just a tad. I'll put the lights here. I'm going to put one switch there and the rheostat there. All right, now we're going to take this off, retape it to the back, and then I'm going to do some drilling. And we'll see how it all turns out. Just give me a second to reposition. And I know there's probably a million different ways to do this. Draftsmen out there are pulling their hair out right now, but I'm looking at it kind of in a rough by eye situation. The only thing that really matters is that has to be straight. That has to be straight. So I'll check those before I cut. Okay, I'm going to reposition. I'll be right back. Okay, now I've got this laid out. I hope you can see that, but you can actually see the layout underneath there. I've taped it down, and I've also put 2 junk pieces of plywood underneath where I'm going to be drilling. Because what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to mark these just by putting a small drill hole. I'm going to mark the corners of all of the areas that I want to cut. Okay, and I've just checked these with a square to make sure that they are square, and they are. So we're going to go ahead and get drilling those. I'm going to get the drill set up, and then I'll be right back. Excuse me. Okay, so you can see how I've got these little holes drilled now. Now what we do is we very patiently expand the holes incrementally with a little bit larger drill bit. Now just remember that I have a piece of plywood under this. Now there's something very important also. You want to make sure you have your drill bit speed high. You don't come in low or slow. You want to start high. Because if you go too slow, especially with the big bits, you'll crack your glass. And if you crack your glass too much, you got to start again, and that is very frustrating. So now we're going to go to the next size up. Maybe a couple sizes up, actually. that sound. Pretty scary. That's because when we get into the bigger bits, you get bigger threads that will carry up. And you can reverse that thing out too. Okay, so let's have a look where we're at so far here. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit nerve-wracking doing this, especially now that we're gonna get up to a even bigger bit now. You know, we have to get up to a 1/2 inch, so the switches that I have will fit in. Okay, I think this bit is fried. Just get a bit new one. Little chunk out of that one, but I don't think that's going to matter because we got a bigger hole to do. And then we also have some guards on those switches that will cover it. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, now the big one, final one. And it's a big one. And this is the one where you got to keep the speed up, where you're going to Okay. Still with me? I know that camera's been shaking a bit, but I'm just going to clear this off. Okay, back in here. Now, I'm just going to run the drill straight through. Just like that. Make sure we got all the rough edges off. Okay, very good. Okay, so remember we still have the plastic sheet on this. And when I pull that away, hopefully these will clear up nicely. But now we gotta outline the rest of our cuts, cut them with a jigsaw. That's not that hard to do. What I'm going to do is drill probably the same size hole here, put the jigsaw blade in, and then cut around like that. And then I'll go over to here and here, and I have moved the two switches over to here. I just thought I was getting too close to the bottom for those. And these are for the lights. Okay, I'm going to go cut out the other spots and then bring it back and we'll see how it looks. Okay, here it is. I've got the holes drilled. I've got these holes cut out for the components to go in. And I've only got 4 screws in right now. I got another 4 to do, but I just need to take that front off again, I think. I'm not going to put the other screws in until all the stuff's mounted, but it came out pretty good so far. And we'll just look at the back here, how it's mounted. So there we go. So I'm just I'll mount this here and here over at the on the layout. But there we go. That's kind of how it's going to look. I'll get the components started to go in, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, so I've got some of the components shifted over into the new control panel. Let's just see if I can get back a bit. You can see here. Okay, so that is the Digitrax Locanet connection. Now that's put in. I haven't connected it yet. This is the turntable control. These are the switch controls. And these are the lights that I'm going to put in. Now I've tried one of these little holders for the lights just to make sure that the hole I have drilled is the right size. So even though the lights are 3 millimeters, these little holders that go in, and I'll show you when I put them in, need a 5 millimeter hole. Okay, so those have all been drilled. I'm now going to commence removing these switches. And so I've taken one out. I'll number it all the way down, take them all off. Then I'll go way back here and I'll take that out and that board out. And hopefully I'll then be able to fish them all out the back, all into this one, and it shouldn't take too long, I hope. Okay, I'll bring you back once I've done all that. These switches are easy to take off. You just undo this little bolt here or little nut here, and then they'll slide off. I'm just going to get some masking tape to number these now. All right, I'll come back when I've got them all out and show you what a mess it makes. Okay, so I've got all the switches out of the front of the board, and I've numbered them all so I know where they all go in the new board. Now I just want to undo these screws here, these here, these here. If all goes well, I'll just transfer the whole bunch out the back and into the new board. So let's see how it goes. Back soon. Okay, so I have got all of the wires out of that box. And there's the mess that we have to put into that box. So I will start the process and I'll get back to you.